This is Michelle Pethley, and I'm going to work on the kit, the January kit from Trendy Tree, with this sign, "Love is in the air." I believe it's their Valentine subscription kit. So what comes in the kit, of course, is this sign, "Love is in the air." I'm not sure if you can really see it very well with the lighting, but it's got two colors of pink in it, red, and some gold as well. Going to be a fun wreath to design with that. The kit also comes with 2 rolls of this polyjute metallic mesh, pink and red. Comes with this wreath frame and these 3 ribbons. This is a beautiful pink velvet, metallic, gold metallic with white dots, and a gold metallic with red stripes. All 3 will work beautifully with this design. We're going to start by putting the mesh on the wreath frame. All right, we're going to start with 10-inch poofs on the top ring. I start this way a lot, but today we're not going to teach you a new mesh method, but I'm going to teach you a new ribbon method. I'm going to put on roller coasters instead of tails, and hopefully that'll give you something new to look at. Now, something new for you to use in your wreaths as well. We're going to take and gather this up. Just kind of crinkle it together, accordion pleat it. All right. Find your starting point on the wreath frame. I usually start where there's a tie very close to a crossbar. See the crossbar here? Okay. What I like to do is I like to take a zip tie this end, the beginning end, to the crossbar. Unfortunately, I don't have any small zip ties, so I'm going to use these gigantic ones. But it'll get the job done. That's all we need. I'm going to zip tie it to that crossbar as a starting point. I do this all the time. It's pretty much just for my, it gives me a little bit of security knowing that that mesh is not going to go anywhere no matter how much I pull on it. The next thing we're going to do is find something that's 10 inches. Now I have this, I use this a lot, and I just move it to 10 inches, and that's going to help me measure the poofs. I'm going to drop my mesh to the floor. All right, and let's open up the first tie, and I just give it a little twist like that. Okay, so this is our starting point. We're going to measure 10 inches. See how the mesh kind of folds in on top of itself and makes this like a tube almost. It's exactly what you want. Now I just take my measuring device, put it at the end of the tie that I'm starting with. You see that the end is right there. Measure to 10 inches, and then put that 10-inch mark right in that tie and give it a twist. Then we can open it up. And again, this method I learned this method from a coach, Jordan, and the purpose of this, by putting poofs on the top, it helps your sign and anything that you put on top of your wreath stay up on top of the mesh by giving it a very strong place to land, shall we say, and it holds it up. This mesh can be very smushy, and by giving these poofs up here, it's just giving a little extra stability for any of the attachments that you're going to put in your wreath. All right, we're just going around. We're going to open up each one and measure. And I'll move this closer into the camera for you to see what I'm doing here. There we go. try that again. All right. Now we're going to take this, kind of cup it over like that. You're going to take and put your measuring device at the base of the last ties, and then you're going to pull to right where my hand is 10 inches. I'm going to put that into the tie, the next tie, give it a twist, and then just pull this open. Okay? This goes rather quickly, just measuring it. I'll tell you, if you don't have a measuring tool like I do, you can use a piece of cardboard, just measure out 10 inches on the cardboard and use it like that. Or if you have a mat like this, you can take and you can line up the last tie on a number. Let's say mine is 19 right here. Okay? And you just take your mesh with your last tie on a line, which is 19 right here. I'm going to stretch this out to 9. 19 minus 10 is 9, so I pull it at the 9 mark. My hand over here is at the 9 mark. And I'm just going to take that and put it in. Now, if all that fails, you don't have a mat or a measuring tool, these ties are 10 inches apart. So if you take this last tie, stretch your mesh over you skip the closest tie, grab it up here at the second tie, and you'll see that also makes the same size poof. So there's 3 ways to do it: a measuring tool, if you have a mat you can use it, or if all else fails, simply look at the ties on your wreath frame and stretch the mesh across, skipping the first one but going to the second one, and that'll give you 10 inches as well. The other thing is, if you don't have anything to measure, simply look at it, use your eyes, and what you want to do is your poofs want to stay just either even or slightly below the ends of the wreath ties that are on there. So you'll see they're all generally the same. All right, now we're just going to cut our mesh. And what I like to do is take another zip tie and zip tie this tail where we cut it. I'm just going to bend it kind of underneath and tie it to the 3rd rail. There's 3 rails. I'm tying it to the middle rail on this wreath frame. Okay? And again, this is just something I do for security. My loops are not going to go anywhere once this is all tied in. You probably don't need this, but I've told you before, I'm an accountant. So what are the belts and suspenders for me, I guess. Okay, so there we have our poofs on our wreath frame. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our mesh, and I'll open up the mesh, and we're going to cut both rolls at the same time. We want 30-inch ruffles on the bottom of the frame, and we want 20-inch ruffles on the top of the frame. There are 10 ties on the bottom of the frame, so we need 10 30-inch ruffles, and then we need 8 20-inch ruffles. All right? So what I like to do is just take my mesh. I'm going to quickly straighten out this edge. All right. And now you can see that we'll line up the 2 rolls of mesh. All right. Now just weigh it down at one end, and we're just going to measure 30 inches. And we're going to make 5 cuts because we have 2 rolls. We're going to make 5 cuts at 30 inches. Okay, there's one. Now I'm using a self-healing mat and a rotary cutter to make these cuts. I'm going to finish making these cuts, and I'm going to make 8 cuts at 20 inches, and I'll be right back to you. Now, and I've gotten all the mesh cut, and I'm going to open up these, all the ties on the bottom, so that I can get everything put in, all the mesh in. Okay. Now the method that we're going to use is the cruffle method. I've shown you this before. It's a very common way to put mesh on a wreath because what this method does is it helps us put the cut edges inside and minimize the fraying. Of course, we know that all mesh frays, no matter what you do, but this will help minimize it. Now we're just going to take and turn the end over twice, and I have a clip here so I can show you. Okay, so we're making a curl, and then we're going to start from the other end, do the same thing, turn it in on itself twice so the cut edge is good and covered. Then we're going to just scrunch up the middle of the mesh. This mesh is wonderful. It's got a white line, so just run your fingers pinching the mesh up that white line till you get to the other side. Then take that clip off, and you've got a cruffle. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to turn that cruffle over. All right, open up my tie, and then push it in as far into the metal wreath frame as possible. Twist that tie around, and there you have it. Just adjust it. It kind of makes a big ruffle right there. All right, I'm going to do that on all the remaining ties. Show it to you again. Okay, we're going to turn the one end under itself twice, and then starting from the other end, do the same thing, turn it in twice, and then just pull it and accordion it, pleat it all the way up the middle. Just drag the mesh, push it up to the other side. When you get there, grab it. Now, turn it over, and then just put it in the next twist tie on the wire frame. Again, pushing down that middle part of that mesh down to the metal, and then twist those ties around. Okay? I'll show it one more time. Now these are the 30-inch cuts. I'm putting them on the bottom. Okay, we're going to just take that mesh, turn it on itself twice. That's one of the curls. And then on the other end, we're going to make the second curl, turning it in twice, and just kind of make sure it's all lined up. All right, now just cruffle up the middle, the white line of that mesh, all the way to the other side. There you have it. Kind of looks like a butterfly or a bow tie pasta. I like to turn it over, put it in the next tie, push down, and twist. All right. Only 15 more to go. I'm going to pause it here and come back after I've gotten all of them loaded on. I just have 2 last cruffles to make. I thought I'd just do that real quick again to show you how it's done. I'm not going to use a clip this time. I'm going to show you a slightly different way. Okay, I'm still going to make the 2 curls, but I'm going to start with the first one. Then I'm going to scrunch up all the way to the end. When I get close to the end, I'm going to just turn this edge over on itself a couple of times. Okay, and then just finish crunching it together. And that way you don't need that clip if you have enough hand strength. But the clip is good, you know, if you don't have enough hand strength, or just to help you manage your mesh until then. Now, I've opened up right here. I wanted to point out that I opened up the tie. This was the tie that's holding the poof on the top. I open up that tie and then push this down into it. Now, this is probably the most important part of any wreath making, is that you've got to get your mesh in very tightly and push it down deep into the wreath to that metal frame that these ties are on. That will ensure that you have lots of lush puffs and curls, and it just will keep your mesh better if it's as tight as it can be pushed deep into the wreath frame. Okay, this is the last ruffle we have to make. I'm going to try it again to show you. I just take and make the curl on the bottom end down here, and then I just kind of ruffle it up. That's how they get the word cruffle. It's a curl and a ruffle. And take this end and just turn it in on itself a couple of times, and then just cruffle and ruffle together. Now I turn mine over like I said. Either way is fine. All right, I just turn mine over. Something I did from the very beginning, and it's a hard habit to break. Now I'm opening up this tie that's holding that poof, and I'm just going to push this middle part of my mesh down as deep as I can, get it close to that metal, twist it a couple of times, and then and there we have it. All right, and I did want to show you that this roll, this was all that I had left out of the 2 rolls. All right, the one roll that I started with the poofs, that one I used completely, and this is all that's left after cutting the pieces of mesh here. All right, now the next thing we want to do is we're going to put on, and this is the new technique that I wanted to teach you. Instead of tails the normal way, normally we cut tails about 13 inches. And this time I want to show you how to make roller coasters between the ties, all right? The first thing I did is I cut all of my ribbon to 23 inches, all right? And the reason is we're going to make a roller coaster with a 6-inch tail on one side, 11 inches in between, and then another 6-inch tail. And the first thing, that's why it's 23 inches. The first thing I want to show you is that we're going to dovetail the ribbon. And by dovetailing, I mean putting a V cut in the end of the ribbon. Okay, we're going to just fold the ribbon over onto itself, and we're going to cut from the folded side to the points. And it gives us a dovetail, all right? Some people call it ducktail. I call it a dovetail, and I think it's probably is a dovetail, but doesn't matter. Get the job done either way. Again, you're just going to cut it from the folded edge. All right? So let me quickly do that. We only have 10 ribbons to do because we're actually, while there's 10 ties on the bottom rail, we're joining 2 together. So we're going to have 5 sets of 2 ribbon on the bottom that form our roller coasters. And I know I might sound like I'm just talking gibberish now, but wait till I show you what I mean by roller coasters. I kind of like this idea for this frame, for this wreath frame, because I don't know if you remember the sign that at the very beginning kind of has balloon. It does have a balloon. It doesn't kinda. It does have a balloon on it. And I just thought that these roller coasters kind of mimic the strings of the balloon. So I'm just doing the same thing with my 2.5 inch ribbon. I'm just folding it in half and then cutting from the folded side to the point to give me that dovetail. Okay, I just have 3 more. I'm going to do them together. I just line them up, fold it in half. And this ribbon is a little bit thinner than that velvet, so it's a little easier to cut 3 ribbons at one time as opposed to just 2. This is our last dovetail. Oh, slight, there we go. That's a better job. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take the pink on top of the gold and white, just line it up together, okay? And see, I'm going to take the first 6 inches of this. I'm going to measure from the points for 6 inches. This is 20 to 26. At 26 inches, I'm going to grab so that gives me a 6-inch tail. All right, so I started at the 20-inch measuring mark, and at the 26-inch, I gathered it up. Now I'm going to I'm going to open up this tie at the bottom. I'm going to push this in, twist it up. All right, now I'm going to take and measure this end, the same thing. I'm going to start, in this case it's 27. At the 21-inch mark, I'm going to gather it up, all right, and I'm going to put it in the next twist tie. I'm opening up that twist tie, pushing this ribbon in, all right. Then I'm going to spread the tails and spread the roller coaster. And actually, I'm going to spread it this way. I'm going to take and pull the gold out on top and the pink down below. No, let's do this way. Sorry for the confusion, guys. I'm going to take the pink on top, the gold on bottom, and then open up the tails, okay? And it makes it look, I'll lift this up for you. Can you see that? See how it makes a tail, 2 tails? Oops, let's go over here. It has 2 tails, a roller coaster, and then 2 tails. And that's using 2 of the ties. So we're going to do that 4 more times on the bottom. And that'll be what we're going to use in place of putting tails in each single one. We're basically joining 2 together. So let's try this again. Let's take line up your end together. I'm going to measure off 6 inches. All right. Now, I'm using this tie here. I'm going to open it up, push that ribbon down into it, and then just twist it up again. And then on the next end of this long piece of ribbon, I'm going to measure off another 6 inches, 28 to 22. Okay. Just going to push this into the next, open up the ties, Push it down into it. There we go. And then we separate all three sections. We're going to separate the tails, the roller coaster, and then the tails. Okay, so it'll look like you have just a ribbon going all the way around the bottom of your wreath. And like I said, I kind of got this feeling, the way it moves through the wreath like that, to kind of tie in with the balloon on the sign. Okay, so again, we're going to take the 6 inches on the first tail, open up the twist tie, push it in. Okay, then I'm going to measure 6 inches from the other end, 27 to 21 in this case, is 6 inches. And I'm just going to push that, open up the next tie, and put it in. All right. And then, in this case, we're going to open up the tails, open up the roller coaster part of it, and then open up the other tail. Okay, we should just have 2 more to do. If I counted properly. Now you don't have to do this, of course. When you make your wreath, do whatever makes you happy. If you want to put tails in every one. Typically I cut 13-inch tails. So if I'm doing a tie in or a tail in every tie. So in this case you would have to make 10 sets of ribbons cut at 13 inches. Okay, so I'm going to pinch it at 6 inches, put it into the tie, now, and I open up my tie, and I'll tell you, I can explain that theory, why that is, in just a minute. All right. And I'm going to measure another 6 inches from this end, and then pinch it together. Open up the next tie. And twist it up again. And simply spread your tails. All right. All right. Last one. And I will tell you this, I don't like putting tails in. I think that's one of the boring parts of the wreath making. So I think when I make roller coasters like this, I like it probably in my mind because it's less of the repetition of putting in one in each tie. So again, we're going to take 6 inches. You can make these longer if you want. Play with the dimensions if you want your ribbons to come out a little bit further. Please, just take and use the method however you want, adapt it to what you want. All right, last one, we're going to take in 6 inches in from that end, put it in the last tie, and twist. All right. And then just separate your tails, your roller coaster, and your tails. So now you'll see that you have a tail. you pretty much have a tail in every twist tie. So I haven't eliminated that completely, but you have a roller coaster in between. And it just kind of gives, I'm going to turn the wreath around so you can kind of see how oops, I'm sorry if I'm getting you sick. See how the roller coasters just go around? And then your twist ties, at the end of the twist tie is the tail. Now, I was going to explain to you why I open my ties. Let's say that, let me grab this up real quick. Okay, let's say that this is the twist tie that's on the wreath, all right? So, if you choose not to open up the ties, okay, your first layer is going to be the mesh, okay? And the mesh is, okay, and let me preface this by saying right here at this V is the wire of the wreath frame, okay? So your first layer of mesh is, the first layer in this tie is going to be mesh, okay? So you put your mesh in and you twist it, okay? So now, if you notice, here's the bar of the wreath frame, and here's the twist after your mesh. Now, if you choose then to put ribbons in it, you put your ribbons in, then you twist tie it again, okay? And now you can see from the bar, you're about, let's see, 3 inches off of the bar, all right? And now if you're really good at this and you know, tie it, twist it as tight as you can, it's going to work just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that just means that everything is just a little less stable because it's moved away from, it's 3 inches away from the wire frame, okay? Now, let's say that the method that I use, okay, we have the wire frame, all right? You put your mesh in it, and you twist it up, all right? Now you're that far from the right here is the frame, and you're about this far from the frame now with the mesh. Now, if I open this up and then put my ribbon on top of that and twist it, I'm only that far away from the wreath frame as opposed to up here where this is where the other bend was. Okay? So I've cut that distance in half simply by opening up after I put the mesh in, and when I go to put in the ribbon, if I open that tie up again and then push that, compress the ribbon on top of the mesh, on top of the wire, and then close it up, I've cut the distance from that wreath frame wire in half. That's the reason that I go and open up the ribbon, open up the ties, I'm sorry, to insert ribbons and things like that. So that's just an explanation of why I do it my way, the way that I do it. Now I'm going to cut ribbon tails for the top. We have 8 ties on top, but I usually make a very big bow, and in order to save time as well as supplies, I only cut 6 ribbon tails for the top. And the 2 that are not covered by ribbon tails, that's where I put my bow, just to save a little time and supplies. Let me move this out of the way. Let's cut our ribbons. And these are going to be at 13 inches. All right, which is what I've said. Now I just need 6 of them. So I'm just going to use this measuring tool and go 6 times around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, then I just cut it here. And again, these are cut at 13 inches. Okay, I'm going to dovetail them real quick. Just fold it together. Cut from the fold to the point. Same on this end. Okay, and now just do these 3. Fold it. Cut from the fold to the point. And again, fold to the point. Okay, let's do it with the pink. Now we did get this roll, and I'm going to use this ribbon in the bow. So I haven't forgotten about that ribbon yet. Okay, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now again, if you don't have a measuring tool like this, you can always lay it out on your mat. If you don't have that, I would just say get a piece of cardboard, measure it to 13 inches, and wind this around just like that. Cardboard would work just as well. And I think that you will find that you can find a lot of different tools in your house to use if you are just beginning. No need to invest in everything until you get hooked like I am. Crafting for me is an escape. It's like meditation for me. I absolutely love to just sit and design. And I hope that this is helping you get that fever. Because then you can always buy all your supplies from Trendy Tree. They have a great selection. Okay, so all of our ribbon tails are done for the top row. Let me get this out of the way. All right. Let's bring the wreath back. And to put ribbons on the top row, we're just going to take and line these up. I fold them in half so that I can get the midway point of the ribbon, and then just scrunch along that fold, and there you have it. Now remember, I open up my ties, but you don't have to. Just press it down and twist. And there we go. Now we're just going to open up our ribbon, fan it out, and curl it down. And there we go. And see how that lays nicely? All right, let's try the next. We just have 5 of these quickly. And now some people will put all 8 on the top. Again, you can do whatever you want. Maybe you're not going to put a bow on, and you need ties on all of them. Also, work at pushing out that divot, kind of that dimple that's there. If you push it out, then your ribbon will lay over nicely when you put it into this tie. And just fan them out. You see how the 13 inches kind of, the tails come over the edge of the mesh? That's why 13 for me works really well. All right, finish this last one. on camera. Push it down. You can pop those divots. Dimples, divots, whatever you want to call them. And then they'll come out like that. I'm going to just finish up putting on the ribbon and I'll come right back to you. Have it. The wreath is done and you can see that I have ribbon all around except for right here. Okay, I have two ties that don't have ribbon. That's going to be my bow zone. All right, so let's make the bow now. I'm going to remove this, give us some space. All right, I'm using the bow maker, the Easy Bow Maker, and I've chosen a few additional ribbons in addition to the ones that came with the kit. I'm using this red and pink and gold, which is exactly the colors that are in the sign. I mean, it's almost like this ribbon was made for this sign. Or how about that? The sign was made with the ribbon in mind. All right. Then I'm going to use the ribbons that came, the 2.5-inch ribbons that came with the kit. In fact, let me move the light this way so you can see it better. All right. And then I'm going to bring in I'm going to use the velvet that came with the kit. I'm going to bring in some red and white hearts. And my last ribbon that I've chosen is a pink, light pink, and a darker pink. All right, and that will tie in, I think, will hit all the color nodes that are in this sign pretty well. Okay, we have the gold, we have this red, we have hearts, we have the white from the background. Okay, so let's start now with our bow. All right, and that's the order that I'm going to keep them in. Hopefully they don't roll away on me, but let's start with this one. Now these are ribbons that I have in my stash. Everybody should have a good stash. Don't be ashamed of a stash. I'll tell you, every year I go into it and I can't believe the things that I have in it. Okay, I'm going to start by putting a pipe cleaner down between the two pegs. All right, that'll be at the base of my bow. And now this is going to be very thick ribbon, so it's going to be a little bit challenging, but we're going to make it work. All right, I'm going to take and start with probably about a 12-inch tail. I'm going to roll up the end a little bit, so I want to have a little bit extra. So maybe a 14-inch tail, because I'll roll it up. Okay, now we're just going to scrunch it in the middle. Oh my goodness, this is thick. And twist it. Put it in there and then twist it. Okay. Twist it. Okay, and the reason you twist it is because you want the correct side of the bow to come out. Okay, so let me show you this again. We're going to put it in. We're going to adjust our length to about a 7-inch bow or 7-inch loop. We're going to twist it and then push it down. You can do the same on this side, about a 7-inch loop. Now in this last one, we're just going to compress the ribbon because we don't need to twist it. And then let me cut it. Okay, so this mambo ribbon is done. Get it off of the, all right, and we're gonna just move this tail up to the top. All right, so that's pretty much the foundation of the bow. One tail up and one tail down. All right. Now this is the ribbon that came in the kit. And I'm going to dovetail this. It saves me time if I dovetail it as I make the bow. Again, just fold it together, cut. All right. And that was a very poor cut. Clean it up a bit. Okay. Now, we started on this side down here. So our next one, we're going to start at the top up here. All right. My right hand, or this hand here, is going to turn towards me. And my left hand, I'm going to show my watch, is going to turn away from me. Okay? And that gives us the correct side up here, the wrong side on this side, but that's okay because we're going to bring the loop back over. All right, now we're going to go in about a ½ inch or an inch, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to draw, my watch hand is going to turn towards me, and my other hand is going to twist away. All right. Make one more loop. And this time we don't have to twist the ribbon, we just need to compress it. All right, we're making an X going this way now. And that's how you make the bow. It's a continual process of just making X's with the bow loop and tails, and they're just going to go the opposite way of the ribbon that was there before. Okay? So let me explain that with this next ribbon. Okay. We're going to take this ribbon, and we started up here. Now we're going to start down here. I'm going to dovetail it. Oh my dovetailing skills are going to be graded D today. All right, put our tail in. We're going to twist. My watch hand is going away from me. My other hand is coming towards me. Okay, it brings up the wrong side of the ribbon, but it's okay because we're going to make the loop. Again, twist it. And now just compress it. And okay. Now, because we started with such a huge, thick ribbon on the bottom, oops, now this one's just compressed. And you can see we've got the X going the other way. Okay, the loop is over here. We have the X, all right? Now let's try add the pink one. Now you don't need to use as many ribbons if you want to just use the ribbons that come in the kit. Absolutely perfect. It's a great selection of ribbons. All right, now we're going to start at the top. We're going to twist it. Okay. Now this loop again is just getting, each loop is getting slightly smaller than the one before it as we go up the bow. Okay. And now just compress that last one because you don't need to make another loop. Okay. Cut it and dovetail it. Now some people don't dovetail right away. They put the bow in and then dovetail it. I just like to get it over with. Okay, now we have the heart ribbon. This is also a very thick ribbon, so I might have to, okay, now, this is where we started on this, so we're going to start down here on this ribbon. We're going to put it in and twist. And twist again. And now just compress it because we're done making loops. Okay. Now, I didn't dovetail this ribbon because it's got a backing on it, and I was thinking I would just roll the edges. If I change my mind, I'll go and dovetail them, but for right now, I want to just try and roll that a little bit to give it just a bit of a contrast. The black background will bring in a little bit of a contrast. So we'll see how it looks, and if it doesn't look good, because we really don't have any black in the sign, if it doesn't look good, we'll change our mind and just dovetail them. Okay, and this is the last ribbon. And see, this is what I mean by bending it over. See how the ribbon is pink and then the darker pink is on the back? So if you rolled it, it gives the ribbon just a little bit more interest. So let's try that. Now we started down here, so we're going to start up here at the top with our ribbon. We're still going to twist it even though it's a thin ribbon. We're going to bring our loop in, twist it, bring a loop in again, twist it. Now this is one little thing that I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to bring this around the pegs. Sorry, I've got to twist it first. Okay, now I'm going to bring it around the peg up here, and this is going to create a very small loop in the center of the bow, all right? And I'll show you how to pull this off. Let me cut this. All right. Now comes the hard part, getting this all off. We're going to use a zip tie, the big zip tie. All right. I'm going to slide this zip tie underneath, and I want to make sure that I slide it underneath that chenille stem or pipe cleaner that we started all this with, all right? I'm going to bring it up. Here's the other end. I'm going to put this end through the loop, that little tiny loop that we put around the peg, all right? And then I'm going to just zip it up a little bit to give it some tension before I even try to lift this bow off of this bow maker. Just lift it up a little bit. I'm putting my thumb through that hoop and just pulling and tightening that zip tie a little bit. I like to keep it in the holder as long as I can because then that takes the pressure off my hand. Okay, now I'm going to show you, see the middle of that bow? Where that zip tie is? It's going down the indentation or the crevice that is made by these pegs. So we want to keep that zip tie there and pull as tightly as we can. And you don't want to lose the stack of this. And this is a very tough, because this bottom ribbon is so thick. But I'm going to just pull. Let me get this out of the way. I'm just tightening my zip tie as tight as I can make it. Okay, now I'm going to cut off this end. now comes the time. We're going to spread this bow. All right. So we'll do one side at a time, all right? The first side is you're going to take the tail and the loop, and you're just going to separate them, all right? The next one was the red and gold ribbon. We're going to pull that loop down, pull that tail this way, and then we're going to keep the loop in our hand and just separate it, okay? Now the next one is the gold with the white dots. Here's the tail, and here's the loop, and we're just going to pull them opposite directions, okay? The next one is the pink velvet. The loop is in my left hand over here, and we're just going to pull it. Okay, the red is next, red with the white hearts. And then finally our little thinner ribbon on the top here. Okay. And just have to adjust it a little bit because in the process the loops got away from me a little bit, and I'm just evening them out by pulling a little bit on one side. Oops, that was overkill. There we go. All right, and then you can see our little one in the middle. All right. So now I just kind of go through and give each loop a little bit of a puff it up a little bit. All right. All right, let's try the other side to complete this. Now, on this side, we're going to hold see this big ribbon down, what we started with? We're going to pull the tail down. Okay, now we start by separating. Here is the red and gold striped loop and tail. Pull them. And now we're going to do the gold and white polka dot and separate them. Next is the pink. Pull the loop one way and the tail the other. The next one is the red. Okay, we got a little movement on that one too. Yep, there they go. And then the last one is the pink, the thinner pink. All right, so now just take a little time and work your ribbons. Still the bow looks a little bit odd because we have to clean up a few things. The first thing is we're going to check this, see how this looks by rolling the edge. Oops, that's a little off camera. Let me get it on camera. The thicker ribbon down here, we're going to roll it a little bit, see. Maybe we're going to have to fold it. Let's see if we can get it to, there it is. All right, and let's see if this one, no, I've changed my mind. I am going to dovetail this one. Excuse me. There we go. Yeah, that black kind of looked out of place in my opinion. Okay, now this ribbon here, this little one, this one I'm going to roll like I did the other. Again, just to give it a little bit of character. There we go. All right. And the last one we have to roll is this one up here. Okay, and we're just going to roll it like we did the one below. We started by folding it because it was so thick. And then it kind of rolls. One thing is sometimes those wires kind of stick out of the sides. Minimize there we go. Okay. So that is our bow. And the red pipe cleaner is on the back. Okay, and that's how we'll attach it to the wreath. The next thing we have to do is just get our sign prepared. And it comes, this sign comes with 2 holes already, one at the top, one at the bottom. And I'm going to make 2 more holes in it. I'm going to use a punch and punch 2 more, one on this side and one on this side. And I just really, for the first time, saw there's a lot of clutter in here, and I just don't want to lose the wreath. So let me get all this clutter out of the way, okay? All right, so this is a hole punch for metal. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. You can find it at Michael's. You can order it online. It's in the jewelry section at Hobby Lobby because that's where I got this one. It is a jewelry punch as well. So I'm just going to put my hole in. Okay. And we'll use pipe cleaners. Some people will use cable mounts. I don't like to use cable mounts on metal signs. Sometimes that worries me. Okay, so just going to take our pipe cleaners, put them through the holes, and then we'll be ready to attach it to the wreath. Now, since the words are on one side and there's a picture, I'm thinking that I want to put it into my wreath and have the bow down here so that the bow doesn't cover up any of the words. All right? So that's what I'm thinking. We'll see how that works out. And all we do is just fish these pipe cleaners through the holes. And, you know, if you don't like the look of the pipe cleaner coming through the hole on your sign, a lot of times ribbons cover that up. You don't even see it. If you're adding anything, if you're adding embellishments to your wreath, those will cover up the holes in the pipe cleaners as well. So that's why I really don't worry too much about seeing them because they're usually hidden by the time my wreath is done. But if that does bother you, definitely use the cable mounts. You're going to need to use, with the cable mounts, you're going to need to use super glue because hot glue does not stick to metal. So put a dab of super glue underneath the cable mount, and then you have to just let it cure for a little bit. E6000, you could use that. You could use super glue. I have a Gorilla super glue that dries really quickly. I'm going to take the tag number off of the sign. Should have done this in the beginning to save us some time. All right. We'll have to work on that later. Not worry about it so much. All right. So now let's bring the wreath back, find our placement, and we'll be ready to go. Let's move the bow off a little bit and bring the wreath back. Now remember, we have that bow zone, which has no ribbons in it. This is my bow zone here. Oops, let's see if I can get it on camera. That would probably be helpful, huh? Okay, so right here, the bottom of my wreath. Now, this is reversed for you because of the camera I'm using, but the way I'm looking at my wreath, this is like the 4 or 5 o'clock section of a clock face, where my hand is, right here. So my bow zone, remember I said that I think I want to put the sign here and put the bow on the bottom of the sign so that it doesn't cover up the words. All right, so that's pretty much what I'm thinking. And again, my camera light is fading this. This is actually a red stripe. And this is a dark pink, and this is a light pink. So at first glance, you're probably thinking that bow doesn't go with that sign at all. But when you get your kit, you'll see that This is actually a red, and it's unfortunate my camera is just, or the lights that I'm using, my ring light, is fading that color out. When I take a finished picture of this project, you'll be able to have a better appreciation for the colors that I'm using. But in any case, I like that kind of placement, so let's work on putting that sign in. All right, and you just have to fish this. Now I do have a needle here. This is a one of those like crochet needles. Okay, do you see the hoop on it? Ooh, there it is. All right, so if you have trouble feeding the pipe cleaners through, just put it in the needle and then slide it through and just pull the needle through. It'll thread it right down into the bottom of your wreath. All right? Just pull out the needle and do it again. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to make sure that when I tie this pipe cleaner on the back of my frame, that I'm going to straddle one of the bars. Okay, you don't want to just put your sign in on the mesh. You want to make sure that the bar, you catch the bar. And let me do it one time, and I'll turn it over and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have my 2 down there. I'm going to make sure I catch the bar, straddle the bar underneath, and then just pull it, and there you have it, okay? I'm just twisting it. Now let me turn over the wreath to show you what I mean by straddling the bar. Hope we can get a good look at this. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, it's going to work. See, I have the zip tie wrapped around this bar here. Okay, it's not just going through mesh. It's actually coming around the bar. And that way, it's very sturdy. It's tied well. Now, I'm just going to get these out of the way for the purposes of being able to see better. All right. So you can see that I straddled the bar. And then I'm just going to tuck this in, kind of twist it around the bar. Keep it out of the way. All right. Now I'm going to do that with the other 3 pipe cleaners. And I'll come right back to you and we'll put on our bow. I'm back after putting that sign on. I've kind of straightened all my ties, my tails, I should say. All right. And now it's time to put our bow on. Now I know this is upside down, but this is my bow zone right here. All right. Right in this area, because these 2 ties don't have any of the tails on it. So I'm going to put the bow, the ribbon, the bow on the same way we've done. We're just going to take and fish these tails through using that needle. Okay, I'm going to twist this back a little for you so you can see. Just going to feed this through. Again, we're just making sure that we can straddle one of the rails or rings of the wreath frame to give this whole thing stability. Okay, there's one. Pull one through. Let me get the needle out, or as my granddaughter calls them, noodles. She was telling us the other day that somebody was getting a shot with a noodle. We really had to figure that one out. It's like a little crossword puzzle with her, trying to figure out what does she really mean by that. She's only 4, and she's got kind of a funny little accent. But don't laugh at her, believe me. That hurts her feelings. Okay, so I got both through. Now with my hands, I'm just going to make sure that I've straddled one of the rails. There's one, and It's funny how you can lose a, there it is. Okay, there we have it. And just pull it down tight. As tight as you can. And that's why using a rail kind of helps you gain that leverage to get that bow down tightly. Okay, now it's all twisted up. Okay, and just take the time to kind of move your loops and your tails and your to the point that you want them. Now, sometimes with these heavier bows and the location of them, they look like they're falling off the wreath. And I think this is one of these times where, I don't know if you can see it, it seems like to me that this part of the bow is up higher than this side. So to counteract that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the mesh that I had left over. Just going to quickly cut a little bit of a curl off it. So don't worry about it being straight or anything like that. This one is going to, and I'm just rolling it up like this, because all I'm going to do now is I'm going to, the reason that you use mesh is so that you don't see that you're using mesh. All right. I'm going to pinch it in the middle. Use one of these pipe cleaners again. Do it as tightly as you can. Okay. You ever see how they lift a car? This is a jack for a car when you're changing the tire. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put this in to the mesh underneath the bow, just like this. And it's going to bring the bow up. All right? And I'm not sure that you're going to be able to see immediately see the difference, but I'm going underneath the bow. I'm going to use this needle again because I have to get this piece of mesh underneath right here, under the bow, to lift it up, all right? So that's why I need this needle. I'm going to thread it through the center, underneath pretty much the center of the bow, okay? And pull it down. And I've got to do the same thing to the other. And again, guess what? We've got to straddle that ring. I'm just going to feed this one through, again, as close to the middle of that bow as I can make it. And there we go. And when you pull it down, you'll see that it kind of blends in with the mesh that's already there. Aha, it's disappearing under that mesh. Actually, looks like it's just one more ruffle under there. And I'm twisting it. Okay, now, when you pull the bow down over this, voila! It has lifted up this side of the bow. And again, I apologize if you're not seeing what I'm seeing here, but it's lifted up my bow from sagging down here. Okay? Might have to just take my word for it. But it did do that exact thing. It just lifted that bow up, and instead of having it kind of hang off and look like it's sliding off of the wreath, it brought it up, and it's now all on one plane, the same plane as the other half. Okay, so that is the wreath kit there. Now I'm just going to take and kind of assess that some of these tails down here, they're a little bit too long for my liking, so I'm just going to shorten them up a bit, okay? Just dovetail them, just make them a little shorter. This is all to your own preference. There's no right or wrong, but okay. Alrighty. So that's that. Now I have some embellishments that I got from Trendy Tree, and I thought we could add a few hearts to this. So let me show you what we have. And I can give you the item numbers from Trendy Tree. These are gold leaves that I thought we could use. And again, I got them from Trendy Tree. And let's see if they have a number on them. I'm not sure. They're just gold leaves. There's not a clear number that I can pick out for you, but I got those from Trendy Tree. I have these pink balls from Trendy Tree, ball sprays. All right, and you can see that they go with the sign and everything. I also have some hearts. They're glittered hearts. Let me grab them real quick. Okay. There they are. Sorry about that. I thought they were at my hand. Okay, now I have these glittered hearts. I thought those would be fun coming out of the bow area. Those numbers. And then I also have this glittered branch as well that I think would give some interest. And it will pull out the red that's actually in the sign. 83552 RD. Again, that's 83552 RD. And the hearts are HV025824. HV, as in Victor, 025824. So those are the 4 items that I thought we could embellish our wreath with. And I'm going to lay it out and get right back to you. This is the final thing. And the kit, none of this comes in the kit, so you don't need to do this. This is just what I'm going to do. I'm going to just embellish. I don't know if you can see what I've done here. I put the gold and the red stems together and then just put them into the wreath. So I'm going to do the same thing on the top of the bow. Let me show you what I did. I took the 2 stems that I got from Trendy Tree. All right. And I'm just going to open these up. Now again, I don't know if Trendy Tree still has the gold leaves in stock. They definitely have these red hearts in stock because I just got them. And but I didn't get these gold leaves too long ago. I know I got them around Christmas time, so I'm hoping that they have them if you're still interested. Now, just take and kind of open up the stem. There's kind of 4 branches. Just bend them a little bit. Give them some life. All right? We're going to do the same thing with the hearts. All right? We're going to spread them out. Bring some forward. Keep some back. Just bend them all. Give it kind of an airiness to it, all right? Then we're going to marry these 2 together. Just put the red hearts over the other, and see how they kind of fit right in there? All right, just spread them out. Some can go behind the leaves. Let's see how that just fits so nicely together. All right? And I'm going to just take and zip tie them down at the base of the the two stems down at the base. Cut that off. Now I've done this exact same thing down at the bottom. I just did one ahead of time to save us some time. Now I don't need these stems that long, so I'm just going to cut them off. Okay, all right? Now, we're going to take and put this underneath the bow. We're going to put this stem underneath the bow. And you know those two twist ties, or the set of ties that did not have tails in them? We're going to use one of those pair, and we're going to attach them and twist them over this branch, all right? So you will not be able to pull this out because it's underneath and held by those twist ties. All right, so let me position the wreath. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Okay, now underneath the bow, remember, see that set of ties right here? Doesn't have tails in it. All right, we're going to take and we're going to put those ties right here. And we're going to twist them around. Push the gold and red stem down into the wreath. Then just twist that tie as tightly as you can. All right? And then the stems go underneath the bow like that. And there you have it. They're inside the bow. Now, if you want to shoot some glue in there, I'm going to do that real quick. But you can see that these are all, then just kind of spread out your hearts. All right. Kind of break the plane. And actually there's another zip tie down here that I'm just going to tie around, just to kind of keep the stem going up. There we go. You're going to just have to kind of fuss with this a little bit until you're happy, but that's with any wreath. You always just keep working it until you're happy with what it looks like. Okay. You can see that the hearts are coming out a little bit. Lift them up. Bring them into the air a little bit. And there you have it. Now I personally just would like to squirt a little glue. I have my glue gun on. I'm just going to lift up the bow, and where I tied that, I'm just going to put some glue on it. Not like it's going to go anywhere, but it doesn't hurt. All right? And I just glued the twist tie that I put the stem through. I just kind of globbed some glue on it. Let me do that for the bottom one down here. Same thing. I tied it with the zip tie that we did not put tails in. All right. Now I want to just show you, you just have to fix your tails a little bit. And there it is. The wreath is complete. I will take a picture with it on the door so that you'll have a better look at how it turned out. I want to thank you very much for spending your time with me. I hope that this has inspired you and given you some different techniques that you can use with all the wreaths that you're creating. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.